Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gaunitai ki jai, Shri Panchatattva ki jai, Srila Prabhupada's arrival in Boston ki jai. Go Premanandi. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, if you can get it on the screen. Is it on there?
No, it's not on.
You can do the needful. Hopefully the battery is charging still.
Yes.
Maybe you can just double check. What does it say? Yeah, it's charging. Okay.
Maharaj, my mum's just texted me that she's just arrived in Boston today. She's on a cruise.
In Lincolnshire?
No, Boston in America. She
Oh,
said,
no way.
Yeah, in Boston today, excursion included going to Harvard University and tomorrow going to Salem. Isn't that funny? She's just texted me today, I've just arrived in Boston today.
Isn't that incredible? What a coincidence. Isn't that amazing? Needle in a haystack. You're not going to the temple?
No, she's kind of like on an organised tour.
Well, you go to at least the Commonwealth Pier. That's in the
Well, that's probably where she's arriving because she's on a boat.
Yeah, well, she won't. Maybe she's not in the Commonwealth Pier, but
Oh, anyway, she'll be on one of the piers.
I don't know if it's still there. I guess it's still there. It's got more of a cargo
Right.
port. Anyway, Boston Harbour, incredible. It's on the screen. So, Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you for coming this evening. Our numbers are a few, but at least some of us are here to continue the amazing, most historically significant event of Srila Prabhupada's arrival in the Western world. Changed the course of history, you could say. So we're going to, this evening, continue. Yesterday, Prabhupada had arrived in Boston, and on his first day, he had a journey around the nearby part of the port of Boston. He'd gotten his visa and wrote a few letters actually whilst he was there. But the next day he compiled, we sang yesterday, Markine Bhagavat Dharma. And on that second day, we're now going to be leaving Boston today. This is the third day of Prabhupada's being on American territory. First day arrival, second day Markine Bhagavat Dharma, third day the boat leaves Boston, and so we'll hear about that this evening, and consequently other events that took place on the third day. And day number 3 now. So we'll start with some Haribol. Okay. This is not directly, you could say, related to the third day of his arrival or his being an American, but this is a invocation, Prabhupada Stotram. This was compiled by a devotee named Ananta Ram Shastri, who was actually a disciple of Prabhupada, Indian man. He was by nature a Sanskrit scholar, He was already a Sanskrit scholar when he came to Prabhupada's shelter. I don't know what happened to him. He used to chant the mantras in 76, maybe 75, I don't know, but in 76, he's a very beautiful reciter of Sanskrit. So he compiled this stotram, this offering to Srila Prabhupada, these prayers, for Prabhupada's pleasure. In Vrindavan, he sang them to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada very much liked it, as you'll see in a few moments, a little bit more about this stotram which he compiled. Om Jnanatimnandasya Jnana Shlakya Chakshurmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Krishna Eka Cheta Matamoha Vinashakarin
Krishna Eka Madamoha Vinashakari
Madrishti Gochara Prabhupada Swamin
Madrishti Gochara Prabhupada Swamin
Dosha Vivritti Paridushita Mandabudhe
Dosha Vivritti Paridushita Mandabudhe
Sanchintayami Charano Tava Bhakti Hetoho
Sanchintayami Charano Tava Bhakti Hetoho.
O my Lord and Master, O Prabhupada, may you always be the object of my vision. Only the name of Krishna can destroy my pride and illusion, although my mind and intelligence are contaminated by wicked inclinations. I meditate upon your lotus feet in causeless devotion. Vrindavane Ramanareti Pasida Bhumo Tatrapi Krishna Balarama Supadamule Jnanam Parang Parama Krishna Sudarmityatam Dantastu Deva Prabhupada Namo Namaste In the most holy land of Vrindavan, in Ramanreti, at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna Balaram, you are preaching the topmost knowledge of the Supreme Personality, Lord Krishna, who is the fountainhead of religion. O Master of the senses, O my Lord, Srila Prabhupada, let me offer my obeisances unto you. Namaste, Namaste, Kripa Purna Drishti.
Namaste, Namaste, Kripa Purna Drishti.
Namaste, Namaste, Mahananda Datri.
Namaste, Namaste, Mahananda Datri.
Namamo, Namamo, Punaraksha Raksha. Prasida Prabhu, Pahimam, Daksha Daksha. I offer my obeisances unto him whose glances are full of mercy and who is the bestower of transcendental bliss. O renowned Lord, protect me. Kindly shower your compassion again and again. Bhakti Siddhanta Shishaya Bhakti Vedanta Namine Prastanaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Let me offer my obeisances unto my Guru Maharaj, who is a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is always calm and joyful, and who bears the name of Bhaktivedanta. Shri Bangabhumi Janabhushana Gaura Lila Gauranga Bhava Parisharana Matra Shila Radha Madhava Pada Padma Manovilasin Ananda Rashi Prabhupada Namo Namaste.
Ananda Rashi Prabhupada Namo Namaste.
The land of Bengal is worshipable by the whole world because Sri Chaitanya performed his pastimes there. I offer my obeisance unto Srila Prabhupada, who is full of bliss. He is always in the ecstasy of Lord Gauranga and is therefore immersed in the lotus feet of Radha Madhava. So, it doesn't say it there, but Srila Prabhupada, when he heard this, I think it was in 1976, he then called the Gurukul in charge and said the Gurukul boys should recite this every day. And they were doing it for years. I don't know what, still doing or not, I don't know. But they would always recite this every single day. There's offering prayers to Srila Prabhupada. He said if they recite this every day, then their attachment to me will grow and grow and grow. They'll become dedicated at his lotus feet. So I thought I had that comment of Prabhupada, but it was not there. This is another one, Bhaktivedantashtakam Sampurnam offering. Again, it's written by another disciple of Prabhupada, Jai Sachinandan Das. And again, you don't know what happened to him. He was very well known in the 70s. Also Sanskrit's gone. Let's see, what tune has he got for this one? Guru Padesham Chapakashati. Sakala Divaya Devatam Sada. Guru Padesham Chapakashati Muda. Mama Shayayakam Yasapadavadam. Shibhakti Vedantam. No, it's not that one. Yeah, I can't remember what. I have sung it before, but I've forgotten.
Is it Sakala Jivaya Ite Tatam Sada Guru Padesham Chakrapasam?
We can do it like that. I was thinking of an actual song, like we sing Samsara. Sakala Jivaya Hite Ratam Sada. It's still a little bit versified. I was thinking like we sing Guru Ashtakam or something. Just turn my mobile off. I don't know all kinds of things are coming in. The last line is the key, because that's probably a chorus line. Shri Bhakti Vedantam Manisham Prapadye. Shri Bhakti Vedantam Manisham Prapadye. Shri Bhakti Vedantam Manisham Prapadye. Sakala Jivaya Ete Ratang Sada. Guru Padesham Chapakashati Muda. Not really. We just say it through them. Sakala Jivaya Hete Ratang Sada.
Sakala Jivaya Hete Ratang Sada.
Guru Padesham Chapakashati Muda.
Guru Padesham Chapakashati Muda.
Mama Shaya Kanyasya Padara Vindam.
Mama Shaya
Shri Bhakti Vedantam Manisham Prapadye.
Shri Bhakti Vedantam Manisham Prapadye.
At every moment I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whose lotus feet are my only refuge. With great joy He reveals to us the divine teachings of Lord Gauranga, and He is always engaged in spiritual welfare activities for the benefit of all living entities. He is our ever well-wisher. Lochana premaktam siddhanta kinkaram. Paschatya deshe bhagavad vinjakam. Mamashayakam yasya padarvindam. Shri Bhakti Vedantam Manisham Prapadye. At every moment I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whose divine feet provide my only shelter from the rains of worldly illusion. As an umbrella is the sole refuge for a traveller in the storm, He is the revealer of the truth of Srimad Bhagavatam to the Western world. He is the humble servant of Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and his eyes are anointed with ecstatic love of God. Nityanande nadikritam pravaditam Krishnopadesham hi bhagavata rupe Mama shayakam yashapadara vindam Shri Bhakti Vedantam Manisham Prapadye. At every moment I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whose lotus feet are my only shelter. He is empowered by Lord Nityananda to propagate the teachings of Lord Krishna in the form of the Bhagavad Purana. Gaudiya Vaishnavanam Vedum Cha Jivanam Mahaprabhu Preshtam Mameshwaram Cha Mamashrayakam Yashapadara Vindam Shri Bhakti Vedantam Manisham Prapadye. At every moment I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, an umbrella of whose lotus feet is my sole refuge. He is a brilliant moon among the Gaudiya Vaishnavas and the very life and soul of devotees throughout the world. He is very dear to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and is my divine Lord and Master. Mama suridam me pitarang prabhum cha Mama sarvashvang jagatang parang gurum Mama shayakang yashapadara vindam Shri Bhakti Vedantam Manisham Prapadye. At every moment I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whose lotus feet are my only shelter. He is my ever well-wishing friend, spiritual father and master. He is the end all and be all of my life and is the exalted spiritual master of the entire world. Yashesha dasham shobhanam me chetasam Praradate tirtha padang sharanyam Mamashrayakam yashapadara vindam Shri Bhakti Vedantam Manisham Prapadye. At every moment I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the umbrella of whose lotus feet is my sole refuge and whose beautiful smiling gives joy to my heart. The places where He walks become holy sites of pilgrimage, and His lotus feet are to be taken as shelter by those who desire to attain the treasure of love of Godhead.
Just need to connect the laptop again.
What are we watching some movie now, or what are we doing?
I think it turned on from your laptop.
What are we watching?
I don't know. It just came up.
Some love stories.
Yeah.
You like this? No. Are we on or not?
Yeah.
You're back online?
Oh, it's from upstairs actually.
It's from upstairs?
Shama's.
What's that?
It's Shama Priya's.
What's she doing?
I don't know. It's connected to her.
Should I tell her like a through
Yeah.
What, she's taken over the television, has she? Watching love movies.
Yeah.
Caught her
It's
in
back now.
action, huh? Somebody should tell her. If she could ask her kindly if she could please leave the love stories till a bit later. At every moment, I think we read this, did we? Yeah. Yashanukampaya harinamadatang Mayangratmane varakaya satyam Mama Ashrayakam Yashapadaravindam Shri Bhakti Vedantam Anisham Papadye. At every moment I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whose lotus feet are my only shelter. By His infinite kindness, the divine name of Sri Krishna has been bestowed upon me, although I am truly a wretched and sinful living being. Yata kila paga prashavanti sindhum tashanukampa patitamanam tata Mamashrayakam yashapadaravindam Shri Bhakti Vedantam Anisham Papadye. At every moment I bow down to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The umbrella whose lotus feet is my sole refuge. All the rivers of the world flow toward the great ocean, so His compassion and mercy flow toward all fallen souls. We'll leave that for later, I think. Now, I'm sorry, we may go back to that if there's time later on, but not now.
I'll start the screen now.
Pardon?
I'll start the screen now when we
Yeah. We may go back to it later if time allows. It's not on the screen.
It's not on.
Where can we get those prayers now? They're beautiful.
Well, they are actually, I don't have all of them, the one last night and the 2 or 3 today, in different places in the Vyasa Puja books. But I can't give you the exact reference, but I mean, I can give them to you, or you can, take a reference note. But I found them I found them online initially, because what happened was, about 3 weeks ago, I suppose, 2 or 3 weeks ago at New Mayapur, we had our 50th anniversary of New Mayapur. And Indradumna Swami came, and Malati Mataji came. And Malati she on one of her classes, she recited one of these offerings to Srila Prabhupada, the one by Govinda Maharaj, the one we did last night. So I asked her where they're from, and she couldn't really remember. But everyone was quite attracted by them, so I searched them out. I found them online, and I found 2 or 3 others. Then I also found them in the Vyasa Puja book later on, so they're actually in the Vyasa Puja book too. I mean, when I say that, that means maybe in 1972 or 75, not like this year.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, the last 50, 60 years, they're there. But they used to be recited, at least that first one we did, regularly was recited. And the devotees told me, although I was not familiar with the one of Govinda Maharaj's prayer, but the devotees were telling me, yes, they used to chant that at a certain time, because it was compiled on a request, or at least with the permission of our Prabhupada. He wanted to make an offering to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was encouraging him. It was actually came out after Prabhupada's demise, I heard, shortly after. But anyway, they're very nice, nice meditations, nice sometimes to share. So what we'll do, let's see, where are we, Prabhupada? Yesterday we finished off basically with the Markandeya Bhagavad Dharma. I'm going to read from the you have to excuse me, I don't think I've got this. I'll read Prabhupada's conversation first of all. No. I've missed something here. But anyway, I'll summarize it. On the 18th of September, when Prabhupada compiled Markandeya Bhagavat Dharma, in the afternoon, the ship set sail from Boston Harbor towards New York. Now, Prabhupada didn't say anything much about the journey to New York. So we're going to take it up now with his basically arrival, so that will be on the 19th. It traveled through the night, and in the morning of the 19th arrived in New York. Specifically, the Jaladuta arrived in Brooklyn. I may just haven't put time into this. I just did this afternoon in a short while. So, but I have information. The information is very easily available. Prabhupada was keeping a diary. You know, he had a diary called the Jaladuta diary. Now, the Jaladuta diary took us up to so far, but he had another diary. It doesn't have a particular name. What did they call it? They always just put a name to it. That this diary was only found, or let's say not found, but revealed about maybe 15 years ago. One of Prabhupada's disciples was keeping this diary. He never showed it to anyone we know. It certainly wasn't available when the Lilamrita was compiled. If it had been, it would have been a lot of changes in the Lilamrita. He gave a lot of details of Prabhupada's first year in America. Lots of details. Details you may never have heard, or you may have heard now because the Buddha speak them sometimes. But they're not there in the Lilamrita. So some of the statements in the Lilamrita are not exactly according to what happened. At least not according to Prabhupada's personal handwritten diary. So the general thread is the same. But it's not like there's any apparat or anything. It's just misinformation or lack of information, which was available when Satsvarupa Maharaj compiled the Lilamrita. So we'll find sometimes that's there through the course of hearing the Lilamrita and reading the first days or something. I can't remember what it was called, something like that. That was what the Buddhas gave a name for. Prabhupada didn't give a name, but like that. So, okay, we're arriving in New York. This is taken directly from Lilamrita, Prabhupada Lilamrita. How many of you have read the Prabhupada Lilamrita? The ladies at the back there are more busy on their mobiles, but have you read the Lilamrita also besides your mobile? Fully, all the way through, all the big ones, the big volumes? Yes or no? If you haven't read it, read it. Not that there's a little one, which is your ever well-wisher, which is also fine, but there's a full, I don't know if you have them here or not. Yeah, there's one book on the shelf there in the middle shelf on the far right. It's a kind of a maroon color. You may not see it from your angle, but it's on the far right. Maroon color with golden print on it. And if I'm not mistaken, that is the Prabhupada Lilamrita. It is, okay. Now that is the 6th volume. There were 6 volumes originally. Now it's printed in 1 volume. Sometimes it's printed in 2 volumes. Sometimes 6 volumes. And, well, you can do any amount of numbers you like. There's no hard and fast rule. But there's one extra book, at least, and then there are many, 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 many other devotees who've written Lilamritas of Srila Prabhupada's, life, pastimes, relationship, whatever. But this is the official one which was first presented on request of the GBC by Satsvarupa Maharaj, the Prabhupada Lilamrita. So we'll be now reading from that, a section when Prabhupada arrives in America. So this is, I guess, in the 2nd volume. The 1st volume deals with Prabhupada's life before he came to America. 2nd volume deals with more or less his time in New York, or his first period. The 3rd volume, San Francisco, and on like that, to the rest of the world in the other volumes. New York occupies quite a large section of the Lilamrita. On the 19th of September, which is the equivalent of today, the Jaladuta sailed into New York Harbor and docked at, it says it here, and docked at a Brooklyn pier at 17th Street. You can look it up on your Google Maps if you want and see exactly where that is. You don't have to. I'm not saying I don't need to. I don't want it, but you can. I'm just saying if you want to. Srila Prabhupada saw the awesome Manhattan skyline. Now, when writing a biography, there is a certain amount of element of writer's license. You visualize the scene. It's like in drama too, you can extend sometimes the events without changing the actual situation or the truth therein, but you can add certain embellishments or certain dramatic decoration, whatever you want to call it, to the scene, to help the audience to capture the scene. So this is, you could say, possibly one of those situations, like writer's license a little bit. The Prabhupada, maybe he was, but maybe he wasn't. It's like, probably he was, but you can't say for sure. Srila Prabhupada saw the awesome Manhattan skyline. Well, quite awesome, full of awe. When you, awesome or awful? It's funny words, huh, English? Awe, full of awe. But when you use the word awful, it means horrible, terrible, right? But it should be full of awe. Awful. But it's not, is it? Isn't it? When you say awesome, that means there's some awe. Awful should be mean awe, unending awe. But it's not, it's like the opposite almost. Strange language, English. So awesome, Americans like this word, awesome. Empire State Building. And like millions of visitors and immigrants in the past, the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, again, Brother Prabhupada was like, oh, there's the Statue of Liberty. Wow, there's the Empire State Building. Oh. No. But you get the idea, you get the scene. He's just arrived from India. I mean, Calcutta in those days, even Bombay had some high-rise, but nothing like this. Nothing, 1965, But Calcutta, I think the telephone office was the highest building in what's it, Square? Dalhousie Square. That's probably the tallest building, about 10 stories tall or something. Grubby looking old building. And now you're seeing the whole, hundreds and thousands of big, tall buildings in front of you. It's like, wow, when you get up to it, it's like a mountain range of concrete. Srila Prabhupada was dressed appropriately for a resident of Vrindavan. He wore kantimala, neck beads, and a simple cotton dhoti. And he carried japamala, chanting beads, and an old chadar or shawl. Just visualize his arriving there. This is September '65 in Boston, in New York, specifically in Brooklyn. And he's walking off the boat dressed like this. His complexion was golden, his head shaven, shikha in the back, his forehead decorated with a whitish Vaishnava tilak. He wore painted white rubber slippers, not uncommon for sadhus in India. But who in New York had ever seen or dreamed of anyone appearing like this Vaishnava? He was possibly the first Vaishnava sannyasi to arrive in New York with uncompromised appearance. Of course, New Yorkers have an expertise in not giving much attention to any kind of strange new arrival. They're kind of used to it, they're like indifferent almost. Srila Prabhupada was on his own. He had a sponsor, Mr. Agarwal, somewhere in Pennsylvania. Surely someone would be here to greet him, although he had little idea of what to do as he walked off the ship onto the pier. And this Prabhupada himself said, he said, I did not know whether to turn left or right. Just a whole new world, you just arrive here alone, no one with you. You just walk off the gangplank coming down onto the shore. Wonder, which way shall I go? Right or left? There's no signs. It's like you come off the plane sometimes. There's no signs, right? Where they go right or left, and exit. You don't know which way it is. There's no sign. Usually they give a sign, but sometimes there's no sign. You don't know which way to go. Well, a little bit more than that. I mean, airports are nothing. Prabhupada's arriving in a whole big country, and they drive on the different side of the road. That's another issue. You look the wrong way when you cross the road,
any side of the road.
They drive on all sides. They do drive on the other side of the road in India, you're right.
Any side.
Any side, wherever you can get. But technically speaking, they drive on the same left side like we drive. But in America, they don't. Oh, welcome back. Hare Krishna. Good to see you. Hare Bol. I don't know if you were here last night. No, maybe not. Anyway. So Prabhupada was like that. He didn't know which way. In other words, he didn't know what to expect. You know, he's completely depending on Krishna. It's nice in one sense, isn't it? That freedom is a kind of a freedom. We think, oh my gosh, that's really, I can't handle that, you know. But if you really look at it, to be completely dependent on Krishna and not know what, just depend on Krishna. Even the Queen of England one time, you have the king, but we had a queen. I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago we had a queen, right?
Yeah.
Now you have a king. Even that is there in, where is somewhere? There's a letter, a conversation of Prabhupada at the manor with Wine, what's his name? Something Wine. David Wine, nice name. David Wine. And he was the Queen's sculptor, you know, you have stone sculptors, you know. She was the personal sculptor to the Queen, so he was privy to the Queen quite often. And he came to see Prabhupada. He'd actually, a friend of George Harrison's, I think, and he met Shyam Sundar, and Shyam Sundar brought him to the manor to meet Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was asking him if he had heard of the Bhagavad Gita. He said, yes. And Prabhupada said, do you have one? He said, yes. The Queen gave him one. The Queen had received and she gave it to him. And he said the Queen had said to him, it would be very nice if everyone could put their dependence on Krishna. Like that. So even she, although she didn't necessarily do that, I'm not saying she didn't either, but there's not evidence to say she did, but she certainly could appreciate the value of that, at least something special there, I guess. But just imagine if you actually were 100% dependent on Krishna, like a baby. Some of you have babies. The baby completely, independent. The baby is, but it's depending on the child. It's kind of protected all the time by the parents, isn't it? Parents are always on the lookout for the child's welfare, always. So like that, probably like a child in the lap of the Lord. The devotee cries like a baby crying for its mother. So Prabhupada was like that, completely dependent upon Krishna. Whatever you want, my Lord. That's freedom. You have nothing to fear. Freedom is freedom from fear. It's not this so-called independence that people think of this day and age. Huh? Gay liberation, women's liberation, elephants liberation, I don't know, whatever you got on your menu. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist in the material world, to be honest. There's no such liberation within the material world. It's when one's no longer depending on the material world, you are liberated. Freed from the dependence of the material world. That's freedom. So Prabhupada was always like that, completely free from the normal course of events, We're all kind of fearful, things don't go the way we want or something. Pure devotees are transcendental, they're depending on Krishna always. Surely someone would be there to greet him, although he had little idea of what to do as he walked off the ship. He passed through the dockside formalities and was met by a representative from Traveller's Aid. So it so happened that Gopal had received news that Swamiji was coming, and he sent something called Traveller's Aid. They're like an organization that you can employ to help people who arrive in a new country. I don't know if they still have such a name, but they're at the airport, to somebody's kids coming from far distance, and they're there to escort the child to wherever it's going. And so anyway, Traveller's Aid were there, and who offered to take Prabhupada to the ticket office in Manhattan to book his return passage to India. At the Scindia office, that's the name of the shipping company where Prabhupada had gotten his ticket in the first place, Prabhupada spoke with the ticket agent, whose name was Joseph Forster, who was impressed by this unusual passenger's Vaishnava appearance, his light luggage, and his apparent poverty. I won't mention. He regarded Prabhupada as a priest. He was respectful. Most of Scindia's passengers were businessmen or families, so Mr. Forster had never seen a passenger wearing the traditional Vaishnava dress of India. He found Srila Prabhupada to be a pleasant gentleman who spoke of the nice accommodations and treatment he had received aboard the Jaladuta. Prabhupada asked Mr. Forster to hold space for him on a return ship to India. His plans were to leave in about 2 months, and he told Mr. Forster that he would keep in touch. Carrying only 40 rupees cash, which he himself caught a few hours spending in New York. As we mentioned last night, you couldn't change it anyway. Those days you could not change Indian rupees in the Western world, at least not in the market. Maybe in the black market, but not in the open market. He had an additional $20. Who knows where that $20 came from? You know, anyone else know? You know, anyone else know? Where did he get it from?
He sold it Bhagavatam set.
Yeah, he had these, as we heard yesterday, he had how many sets of Bhagavatams on the boat?
200.
200 of these sets of 3 volumes. I don't know if you have the reprint of them here. I used to have an original copy signed by Prabhupada. Mukunda Maharaj, well, he was a Vanaprastha, gave it to me when he left London. I was staying with him. And he gave me, I left it for the archives as far as I remember. Amazing original copies of Prabhupada, you know. He signed it, I think it was maybe given to Mukunda himself, I don't know. Amazing event, how Prabhupada came with the Bhagavatams, how important this was, you know. He saw this as the most important thing practically to bring to the Western world was Srimad Bhagavatam and the Holy Name, these 2 forms of Krishna, appropriate for the situation. And we know, all of us, anyone who's buried in the Bhagavatam, I was just hearing from Isham, one devotee is aspiring from initiation from Shivaram Maharaj. So she's living outside, congregation member, and he said, okay, well, your sadhana, if you want to get initiated, is every Saturday you have to go out and distribute books. Indian lady. Every other Saturday, not every Saturday, once every 2 weeks. The other Saturday you have to read for 6 hours Srimad Bhagavatam. Good test, huh? And she's serious. And reading Srimad Bhagavatam, this is life and soul. I mean, what can you say? It's an ending topic. We'll read on. So Prabhupada bought this for the world to New York. So he sold 3 volumes of his Bhagavatam to who? Who to? You know everything. You were walking encyclopedia. Ishan. Well done, the captain. Well, Prabhupada was really the captain of the ship, but the official captain of the ship was Captain, his name?
I don't know that.
Oh, no! Even, I thought you were a Google guru. Captain Pandya. Pandya and his wife, his wife was also on board. She was a very nice lady, according to Prabhupada, a nice devotee. To Captain Pandya, so he had $20, 40 rupees, and he walked on shore with an umbrella and a suitcase in hand. He probably used to always carry an umbrella. In those days he would anyway. And still escorted by the Traveller's Aid representative, he set out from the Scindia office to the bus terminal. Who knows the name of the bus terminal in New York? You may have been there, probably. Most of us have been through there if you've been to New York. Nobody? Have you been to New York? Oh, you've never been to New York. It's called the Port Authority bus terminal. It's a very, very, very busy bus terminal. To arrange for his trip to Butler. Butler was where where his sponsor lived. It's a little town, and you may have heard of it last year. Somebody tried to shoot Trump. Donald Trump. They tried to assassinate him there last year before the election. This little tiny town in the middle of nowhere. He happened to be there on his campaign, and they tried to shoot him there. I think they hit him slightly in the ear or something. Yeah. All places in Butler, the place where Prabhupada started in America. It's weird. The coincidences that sometimes take place in this Leela. Anyway, he was heading for Butler. It's a small town. You'll hear about that in a minute. And there were no buses directly. But anyway, the bus to the nearby city left from Port Authority bus terminal. So we're going to go now, because the bus then left in the evening of the 19th. And Prabhupada travelled through the night, through the evening, late afternoon, evening, and night to Butler. Quite a long ride. Prabhupada himself describes it. And here we are. So this is a conversation now with Prabhupada. Let's hear directly from Prabhupada. That was a nice summary of Satsvarup Maharaj's, what he'd heard from others and what he'd read and what he heard from Prabhupada and so on. But this is directly from a conversation with Hari Story later on, of course, much later, 10 years later. And so someone said, so on the bus, Prabhupada said, so on the bus we went to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, Prabhupada said? Hari Story, that's a long drive. Prabhupada, yes, 9 hours on the bus. And I took a little chip rice. And Prabhupada laughed, chip rice. You know chip rice? Everyone knows what chip rice is? What do you call it? Chira, huh? Chidra, chira. Huh? What do you call it? Chip rice is mixed with peanuts and fried bits and spicy and like that. Prabhupada liked it very, very much. And whatever I had with me, and he laughs, whatever prasadam he had. So I got down from the ship about 1 o'clock. Then I had to wait for the bus till 5 o'clock. These figures are not absolutely correct. Perhaps giving an idea. Then at 5 o'clock the bus started. About 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, means I went to Pennsylvania. That means arrived. And just in front of the bus, Gopal was standing with his car. What is it called? Van car? Harikesh, station wagon. Prabhupada, station wagon. So he took my luggage, and from there, 30 miles off, the Butler County. So I went there. Then at night, he took my bedding, and next day, he had no many rooms in his apartment. He arranged for my stay in the YMCA nearby them. You know what the YMCA is? What does it mean?
Young Male Christian Association.
That's the literal meaning of it. It's a place for accommodation. You could stay there very cheaply for short term, medium term, like that. Pay a little bit of money. Hari Story, you never actually stayed with him then. Prabhupada, I was taking my meals there. Hari Story, and just keeping a room at the YMCA? Prabhupada, because he had no room, so I was staying there. Tomorrow, I'll show a picture of that building and even the room. It's said to be the room Prabhupada stayed, but I don't know if anyone can absolutely guarantee that. Hari Story. And then he arranged programs, speaking programs, or Prabhupada, his wife, Sally, she was arranging. A very intelligent girl. They were of the same age, about 30. Gopal was more than 30, and she was about 30. I saw that she was feeding her child, one boy, meat powder. Harikesh, beef bouillon? Prabhupada, I do not know what is the name. But I asked, she said, it's meat powder. That is the system. Prabhupada was staying in this like this. He was making his own meals with American couple, Indian man, American wife. They were not vegetarian. He was smoking. Prabhupada was keeping his food in the fridge along with their meat. He was compromising completely the normal behavior, especially of a sannyasi Vaishnava. Compromising, not exactly. His mood was simply to preach Krishna consciousness. He didn't go there to be a vegetarian. He didn't go to America to be a Brahmana. He didn't go to America, for any material reason whatsoever. He went there for one reason, to preach Krishna consciousness. The only reason. So whatever it took, He lived with persons who were not following any of the Hindu principles, what to speak of Vaishnava principles, practically. Alien to the culture, completely, for the sake of giving them a chance to become Krishna conscious. Prabhupada, I don't know. Hari Soi, yeah, when they are very young and they can't eat solids, Prabhupada, mixed with hot water. Yes, Hari Soi said, have instant meals for children, all different kinds of things. Prabhupada, so Gopal was very much pleased that he could get some Indian chapatis like this. Prabhupada was cooking chapatis. Gopal Agarwal was very happy. Yesterday, these ladies who came here from Maharashtra, a group of ladies and boys, students. Are you from Maharashtra? Any of you? You came yesterday, did you?
Yes.
Yeah, you were the ladies here yesterday. You were saying that you were very happy to get the prasadam yesterday. You felt like they were back in India again, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Nice, you know.
It was really good experience.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks
Beautiful
to all of
experience.
you. Thanks to all of you.
You could never, we thank you for coming. You could never imagine coming to Newcastle and being able to come here and get prasadam like that, isn't it? You never, even in a restaurant in Newcastle, maybe some vegetarian Indian restaurants, but you're also there. But this is special. This is prasadam offered to Krishna, you know. Wonderful. He was the cook yesterday, this young man here, Vasu Shresht. Yeah. You have to cater for them. You can start, a little catering business for all these young Indian students. That would be probably quite a good engagement to somebody. You know, there's so many Indian students in Newcastle to cater for them. Huh? Somebody could think about that. Hari Sori, so he had you cook for him. You took your cooker with you, Prabhupada? Is that the same one? Prabhupada, no. A different one then. Prabhupada, so I lived with him for 21 days, although it says a month in the actual calendar which is there. Then I came to New York. Hari Sori. Yes, that picture in the Butler Eagle. That's the name of the local newspaper. It's in the Vyasa Puja book this year, Prabhupada. Prabhupada, yes, Butler County is a good county. There were many churches. That pleased me. Prabhupada was pleased to see many churches. American people, they have a strong sentiment, for worshipping Jesus, Christianity. And Prabhupada appreciated that. He actually was happy to see that. There was some kind of God consciousness there. It wasn't like atheistic, but they're very God conscious. To what degree? But there's definitely a degree of God consciousness there, that's for sure. Prabhupada said, many churches, they are religious. He appreciated it. Break. Sometime that one piece of... Now Prabhupada gives a little comment. Sometime that one piece of wire lying in one place, one piece of bamboo was lying in another place, and one dry shell of a squash was lying there. So one intelligent man collected this. So this dry shell became the tambour's, what is called? Hari Soi, I don't know. Like sound chamber, what do you call it? Like on a tambura? Prabhupada, sound chamber may be called, yes. So with that dry squash, he made the sound chamber. The bamboo he fixed up, and the wire tied upon it, and then it became a tin, 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 like an instrument. Tin, 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 tin. Our organization is like that, Prabhupada said. I was loitering in the street. Somebody was over there. Somebody was there. Not combined together. International Society String Band. Prabhupada called it. The International Society String Band. Yes, separately we are all useless. Huh? Useless. Hari Sori, no, Prabhupada, we were useless. You were never useless. Prabhupada, no. Your assistance was required. How you can be useless? We're all useless. But combined together, now we have become a stringed instrument. This is a very good example. Separately, just like the same logic, under kunja. Separately, under is useless and kunja is useless. Blind, under, and kunja, lame. Neither can do anything, practically. They cannot do anything. But combined together, they become useful. The blind man can walk, the lame man can see. So work together. So Prabhupada described India as like a little bit like a lame man. They know the goal of life, but they don't have the means at that time, poverty. In the West, they have all the material facilities, but they're completely spiritually blind. Combined together, it makes a very good combination. That was Prabhupada's philosophy. Work together. The conversation. Now we're going to hear from Sally Agarwal. Sally Agarwal, as you've just heard, was the wife of Gopal Agarwal, and they were the ones who received and sponsored Srila Prabhupada. Sponsored means wrote a sponsorship letter and gave some guarantor of some kind. As Sally tells it, the Agarwals received Prabhupada's initial letter in early September. I don't know exactly, he must have, if it was early September, maybe he posted it just as he was leaving India or something, or on the way, or I don't know. But they say they received it in early September, and he included, saying that he was coming, and he included a picture so that they might recognize him when he arrived. Using this picture, Sally relates, my husband met him in Pittsburgh since he was coming in on the Greyhound bus from New York City. I think also in the Leon, I think he says, oh, we won't be able to miss him. There's no one else in America dressed like that. You know. So extraordinary. Nowadays, you know, it's not. You need more than just a picture. Gopal had worked it out with Prabhupada's aid to get him to Pennsylvania, so we met him. It was about midnight when they reached Butler, and poor fellow, he was tired from his constant journeying, and the only place we could set him up was on our couch. Here's the poor fellow. This bus came swinging out of the terminal into the daylight of Midtown Manhattan, riding along, this is back to the Leelamrita now, riding along in the shadows of skyscrapers, through asphalt streets, crowded with people, trucks and automobiles, and into the heavy traffic, bound toward the Lincoln Tunnel. And if you've been in New York, you know what this is like. The bus entered the tunnel and emerged on the Jersey side of the Hudson River, continuing down the New Jersey Turnpike past fields of huge oil tanks and sprawling refineries. That's still there. The Manhattan skyline was on the left, while 3 lanes of traffic sped 60 miles an hour in each direction. There's more than 3 now. Newark Airport came up close by on the right, with jets visible on the ground, electronic power lines spanning aloft between steel towers stretched into the horizon. He's just writing what the vista of the area was about. So Prabhupada probably was looking at this. Srila Prabhupada never before witnessed anything of such magnitude. He was now seeing for himself that American culture was based on passion for more and more sense gratification, and it was a scene of madness. For what important business were people rushing to and fro at breakneck speed? He could see their goals advertised on the billboards. Of course, he had many times traveled the road from Delhi to Vrindavan, but it did not have many advertisements. You know, when you go on that road, you know, you see sometimes they have these huge billboards everywhere. Don't get them so much in England, but some countries there's so many billboards. In the Philippines, in Manila, you've seen Jivananda in Manila, right? The billboards. They're huge. I mean, there'd be twice the size of that wall. There'd be a billboard on, and one after the next. You can't see beyond the billboards. They're like up against each other, one like this. You know, you can't see what's beyond them. It's just like a row of them. So, all over. Huge billboards. Advertising material sense enjoyment. Most people in India went on foot or travelled by ox cart. And in Vrindavan, even the ordinary passers-by greeted each other by calling the names of God, or Jai Radhe, Hare Krishna. Now there were factories outside Delhi, but nothing like this. The cumulative effect did not pack nearly the materialistic punch of these fields of oil tanks, mammoth factories and billboards alongside the crowded superhighway. Meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication and gambling. All advertising, and almost, you see, especially now, almost every advertisement has some kind of, you know, attractive looking woman somewhere or another trying to advertise some innocent thing, you know, try to capture the attention of the people with the money. The very sins Prabhupada had come to preach against were proudly glamorized on mile after mile of billboards. The signs promoted liquor and cigarettes. Roadside restaurants offered slaughtered cows in the form of steaks and hamburgers. And no matter what the product, it says here, it was usually advertised by a lusty-looking woman. But Prabhupada had come to teach the opposite, that happiness is not found in the passion for sense gratification, and that only when one becomes detached from the mode of passion which leads to sinful acts can one become eligible for the eternal happiness of Krishna consciousness. Who knows that verse in the Bhagavad Gita in the 4th chapter, is it? The 3rd chapter. 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Arjuna asked that question, what is it that forces a man to act sinfully as if against his own nature? And what does Krishna say? Kama esha kuresha rajaguna samudbhavaha marshama mahapapma vidyena mihira varnam. And what does that mean? It is lust only, which
born of contact with material mode of passion, later transformed into wrath,
anger,
all-devouring sinful
enemy of the world. So lust is the all-devouring sinful enemy of the world. It causes wars, it causes breakdown between people in families, it causes everything you can think of, which is, unwanted. Who's the guitarist?
Rajendra.
Oh, he's outside, okay. He's and with the children. Only one who is freed from this lust becomes eligible for the eternal happiness of Krishna consciousness. And you still have that tendency for lust or desiring to enjoy the material world. Everyone does. Prabhupada felt compassion. The compassion of a Krishna conscious saint had been explained in an age long ago by Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj says, and you can read this in the Bhagavatam, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for the big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. The scenery gradually changed to the Pennsylvania countryside, and the bus sped through long tunnels in the mountains. Night came, and it was late after 11 when the bus entered the heavily industrialized Pittsburgh area on the shore of the Allegheny River. Srila Prabhupada could not see the steel mills clearly, but he could see their lights and their industrial fires and smoking stacks. Millions of lights shone throughout the city's prevailing dinginess. Pittsburgh is a very industrial city, something like Newcastle used to be. Very similar. Not so much now. You can see most of the heavy industry is not here like it used to be. The dockyards, the steel mills, the coal mines. Did you know that Newcastle was practically the beginning of the Industrial Revolution? Practically. It wasn't the first place, but it was the first place to really take off. Armstrong. There used to be, he had 12,000, in the early part of the mid-19th century, 12,000 people working in factories along the banks of the Tyne. And what were they doing? Making guns, making weapons for war. It was the center of weaponry, Newcastle. It was quite well to do because it was the main industrial center in Europe at the time, Newcastle. Boats also, boat making. So Pittsburgh, it wasn't boat making, but they were also doing the same thing. Highly industrialized steel, coal mines. That's why it's called pits. Pittsburgh, because there are so many pits, coal mines on the pits. So it was called the Pittsburgh, it means borough, the borough of the pits are so many coal mines and steel mines. When the bus finally pulled into the terminal, it was past midnight. Gopal Agarwal was waiting with his family Volkswagen bus to drive Prabhupada to Butler, about 1 hour north. He greeted Prabhupada with folded palms and said, "Welcome, Swamiji," bowing from the waist several times. An Indian man, some understanding of the culture. This was not any of Gopal's doing. His father, a mature businessman with a fondness for sadhus and religious causes, had requested him to host the Swamiji. This wasn't the first time his father had arranged for a sadhu acquaintance to come to America. Several times he had sent sponsorship papers for Gopal to sign, and Gopal had obediently done so, but nothing had ever come of them. So when the sponsorship letter for A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami had come, Gopal had promptly signed it and returned it, thinking this would be the last they would hear of it. But then just a week ago, a letter had come. Sally Agarwal had opened it and then, in alarm, called to her husband, "Honey, sit down, listen to this. The Swami is coming." Srila Prabhupada, we had the same experience in a different way, you know. We would get like sometimes 1 day's notice that Prabhupada was arriving, or 2 days' notice. A telegram would come. Oftentimes it was very vague. In Sydney, when Prabhupada went into Sydney, they didn't know if he was coming or not, but then they heard he wasn't coming. In 1971. Then the message came, Bali Madan, it said, Bali Madan, coming, arriving tomorrow or the next day. So they thought it was just Bali Madan Prabhu coming. But actually, he thought that they would have caught on, all of them were coming. So they didn't, no one was there, you know, just 1 or 2 to us. And Prabhupada walked out onto they had no idea he was coming. You know, it was different world, you know, telegrams. You know what telegrams are? I don't know if they have such things anymore or not, but it's a pretty ancient system by modern standards. But that was like, very advanced in those days, a telegram. But they were usually wrong, you know. Telegrams were very unreliable. The same thing happened in Kenya. Prabhupada arrived, they didn't know. Even in England, we get the timing wrong. We get the wrong time when Prabhupada was arrived. The first time I saw Prabhupada, the telegrams were wrong. They gave the wrong time. It said 11 o'clock, and Prabhupada came in at 8 in the morning. There was nobody there. There was only 4 of us at the airport. We were getting ready, and Prabhupada suddenly arrived. And nobody else was there. So in Kenya, nobody was there at all. The devotees didn't know. They got some last-minute message that Prabhupada was coming, and they all rushed to the airport, but Prabhupada was already there. And when they were going to the airport, Prabhupada was in a taxi coming from the airport to the temple. He got to the temple, there was only one devotee at the temple. They were all at the airport. It was like that in those days. You know, so don't get so, you know, uptight, you know, when things don't go quite to the number. It was just the way it was in those days. You just accepted that's how things were. Nobody had a phone. We didn't have any phone anywhere usually. Certainly not mobile phones. Srila Prabhupada had enclosed his picture so that they would not mistake him. And they say, the Agarwals had looked curiously at the photograph. Gopal said, there'll be no mistake there. There's no one else in America looked like that. The unsuspecting Agarwals were simple American people, according to Sally Agarwal, who had met her Indian husband while he was working as an engineer in Pennsylvania. What would they do with an Indian Swami in their house? Prabhupada was a shock for them, but there was no question of not accepting him. They were bound by the request of Gopal's father. Dutifully, Gopal had purchased Srila Prabhupada's tickets from New York to Pittsburgh and had arranged for the agent from Traveller's Aid to meet him. And dutifully he had driven tonight to meet him. So it was with a mixture of embarrassment, disbelief and wonder that Gopal Agarwal helped his guest into the Volkswagen and drove back home to Butler. What is the time?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, okay. So that's our time, is it? So we finished nicely on time. And tomorrow, if you want to join us, we'll find out what happens. Prabhupada's just arrived in Boston, and now it's the 20th of September, 1965. So we'll see tomorrow what happens next, if Krishna wants to. allow us to do that, we're here tomorrow. If you have 10 minutes to spare, I would read this poem about Boston, but don't know. Many of you have just arrived. You just walked in the door a few minutes ago.
Yeah, you speak personally.
Well, it's not, it's a Vyasa Puja homage. It's not exactly a poem, but it's something like that. Let me see now. So please listen carefully as I endeavour. It's not that one. Where's it gone? Where did it go? Here it is. Okay. This is an offering. Every year on the appearance day of one spiritual master, the disciples generally write an offering. So this was an offering made by, forgotten his name. He lives in Sandy Ridge in America. His name must be at the bottom. Let me just see. Huh? No, he lives in San Diego. Let me see, I've got his name's at the bottom. Sarvadrik Prabhu. He lives in America. And he made this offering to Prabhupada. And it's about Prabhupada's arrival in Boston. And the significance. And it just gives us a little bit of an idea. Little idea. Just meditate on these words if you can. Something wonderful occurred in Boston, Massachusetts in September of 1965. This was the most auspicious day human society has known for hundreds of years. Can we move the table, please? I've got to put my legs down, they're paining. Because it was on this day that Srila Prabhupada stepped off of the Jaladuta and placed his lotus feet on the soil of America, thus changing the destiny of the world forever. Someone may say that such a statement is the exaggerated sentiment of a disciple, a subjective opinion. It is not. There is an objective truth to be pondered here that will give us a tiny glimpse of the glory of the person we know, love and worship. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. If Srila Prabhupada had not come, just imagine. Of course you would think about it, would you? Nobody would think about it if Prabhupada hadn't come. It wouldn't be a subject. If Prabhupada had not come to Boston or to America, there would be had Srila Prabhupada had not come, hundreds of temples would never have been built. It's thousands now, by the way, not hundreds. None of them would have been built. There would be no centre in Newcastle, London, Manchester, Birmingham, Leicester, Cardiff, Scotland even. Not even in Scotland. Imagine. And even in India, you know, the reality of it is, it's not so much mentioned here because it hadn't taken off at this time, but you know, the revival of Vaishnavism in India right now is phenomenal. Phenomenal. It's all because of Prabhupada going to Boston. Krishna conscious farm communities would never have been established. Tens of thousands, now it's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of devotees would never have accepted initiation and a life of Krishna consciousness. Literally millions and millions of people would never have even heard the name Krishna, and Google searches would turn up only a handful of obscure encyclopedic references. There would be no Hare Krishna cinema, no devotional music, dance or art. There would be no deity worship in tens of thousands of homes and temples around the globe. Millions of people would never have tasted prasadam. There would be no Hare Krishna restaurants. There would be no Bhagavad Gita, no Srimad Bhagavatam, no Chaitanya Charitamrita, no nectar of devotion in English, Spanish, Japanese, Russian, and dozens of other major languages. I saw in Vrinda, in Ramai's house yesterday, there is one Creole, Mauritian Creole translation of Bhagavad Gita. even in such a remote, how many people speak? 500,000 people or something speak Creole. And there is the Bhagavad Gita translated into that language, Prabhupada's Gita. There's hardly a language left which hasn't had Prabhupada's books translated into it, hardly. There would be no BBT, that's the publishing house for the books. Tens of millions of people would never have received one of these priceless books which illuminate the highest objective of human life. How many books have been distributed now? 700 million? Something like 700 or 800 million of Prabhupada's books have been distributed now around the globe. In India, I mean, I don't know how many. What's the quota this year for the Live to Give campaign? What's the total number of Gitas? You're not in touch, huh? I can't remember. This year is 2025. How many Gitas are supposed to be distributed? I don't know. 400 million? I think something like that. I don't know. Maybe not that many. Maybe, no, not that many. Maybe 40 million. I don't know what it is. A lot of books anyway. In Delhi alone, they usually do 1 million books, Bhagavad Gita, during this period of time. Can you imagine? Isn't that not all in Delhi, but the devotees in Delhi, they go out to other towns. Huge numbers of books being distributed. In Russia, so many books were, and still are to some, although the difficulties there now. So many books. In America, the devotees were printing 1 million Back to Godhead magazines every month for distribution. In
2024, they distributed 4.2 million.
And this year it'll be about 5 million, I guess.
Yeah, it says the exact targets are still being set.
Oh, okay. So it'll be around about 5 million this year, the target, probably. Yeah, you have to see. But many, many books have been distributed. They will remain there. Everyone who's got one book is on their way back to Godhead. It may take some time, but they're on the way. And the books go here, there, and everywhere. We could talk all night about it. The multitude of prolific Vaishnava authors that followed in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps would be busy writing about some other topic. They wouldn't be writing about Krishna, that's for sure. There would be no festivals, no Harinam Sankirtan, and thousands of pious souls who took birth in devotee families would be looking for some other planet to be born where Lord Chaitanya's Leela is occurring. There would be no initiations, no devotee Sangha, all would be void, shunyavad, if Srila Prabhupada had never stepped off the Jaladuta. This point of view is not the annual rambling of a fawning disciple. It is not fanatic eulogy. These are hard, irrefutable facts. Whatever we know about Krishna, and frankly what most anyone knows about Krishna outside of India, had its beginning in those first sacred steps of Boston Harbor. Someone may say, well, what about all the other devotee preachers who came after Srila Prabhupada? We would respond that while their service to Mahaprabhu's movement is indeed glorious, each and every one of them eats the blessed remnants off the plate of Srila Prabhupada's powerful kirtan, which showered grace on every continent of the world. He was the pioneer. He showed the way and he slashed through Kali's dark jungle, clearing the field for generations to come. It is only by his dedication and sacrifice that there is any kind of preaching field at all outside the borders of India. If he had not come and laid the foundation, there would be no waiting devotees, no dakshina, no initiations, no rides from the airport, no prepaid air travel, no accommodation, no temples, and no devotee homes for preaching and expansion of missions. We'll be talking about other saintly devotees in our line who come after Prabhupada, but Prabhupada laid the foundation. There would be nothing for them. They would have to come and do what Prabhupada did. Walk the streets of New York for a year on your own in the rain, snow, wind, and freezing weather, with not a penny in your pocket, and starting with nothing. Nobody did that. They came and took the advantage of Srila Prabhupada's, what Srila Prabhupada has done. The only reason that any of these facilities exist is because Srila Prabhupada stepped off the Jaladuta. Ask any Walla in Vrindavan or Mayapur who's old enough to remember what the town was like before Srila Prabhupada left the divine shelter of Sri Sri Radha Damodar Mandir in Vrindavan for the Lower East Side of New York City. They all know it was Srila Prabhupada who put the Lord's hometown on the map and brought crores of rupees, temples, new construction and prosperity to otherwise impoverished, materially impoverished villages. All of Vrindavan and Mayapur's worldwide renown exists today because Srila Prabhupada stepped off the Jaladuta. Today, Kirtan is a rage and public venues fill with eager participants. There's so many different people doing Kirtan all over the world now, isn't there? But Srila Prabhupada was the original Kirtaniya, the first, who sat in Tompkins Square Park in New York with his little tom-tom drumming out the rhythm of Lord Krishna's holy names before any of these people were even born. Sadly, he is not given credit. But today, Harinam Sankirtan reverberates in yoga studios, in devotee homes, in temples, on downtown sidewalks, and at music festivals in nearly every country of the world, only because Srila Prabhupada stepped off the Jaladuta. And finally, we are all sitting here in the blessed association of devotees, remembering and appreciating his qualities and his influence in our lives, in one of hundreds of such gatherings around the globe, only because Srila Prabhupada stepped off the Jaladuta. Let us ponder these truths, and as we meditate thrice daily, chanting Aim Gurudevaya Vidmahe Krishnanandaya Dhimahi Tanno Guru Prachodayat, try to grasp the meaning of this sacred mantra. Try to know Srila Prabhupada on the degree to which he pleased Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how much he was absorbed in doing so. And let us attempt to fathom the breadth and depth of Srila Prabhupada's accomplishments. Doing so will cause the creeper of devotion that he planted in our hearts to blossom and bear the fruit of love of God, and allow us to be fixed at his lotus feet forever. There is nothing else worth having. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Haribol. So we can just meditate on that. Prabhupada hadn't stepped off the Jaladuta, or stepped on it, whichever way you look at it. But if he hadn't come to the West, there would be nothing. Nobody else. I mean, Krishna could do anything he likes, but at the moment we don't see anyone else who would have dared to have done what Prabhupada did. Amazing. We hope that in history it will be recognized for what it is. People are still scared about the reality of this, maybe. This will be known in the future. Prabhupada said, it will be known in the future that this movement has saved the world in its darkest hour. And it's pretty dark. So we have to try to follow in Prabhupada's legacy, try to distribute this knowledge to others, practice it ourselves and share it with others. So the whole consciousness is what needs to change, not the world, the consciousness. Materially, people think the world has to change, but that's not, that will come automatically. What needs to change is consciousness. As long as our consciousness is materialistic, lusty and greedy and envious and whatever else it may be, there's no solution. Consciousness has to be purified. So Prabhupada has brought that medicine to cure us of this diseased state of consciousness. So please take the medicine and let us share it with others as much as we can. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Are there